Welcome, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to the Chair Sessions with Dr. D. Today's guest is keeping the blues alive with festivals along the Atlantic seaboard from Maine all the way down to Florida. On the line with me today is Paul Benjamin. I first met Paul last year at the Cottonmouth Southern Soul Kitchen in Bradenton, Florida, for a blues-rockin', soul-stirring double bill of Cat Riggins and Toronzo Cannon. Well, today, Paul's going to talk to us about his passion for the blues, his festivals, including the upcoming Lakewood Ranch Blues Festival in December. So, with that, welcome aboard, Paul.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you.
Well, we've got a lot of blues lovers out there, and so I can't wait to hear about the festivals, since I've only been to one of them so far. But tell us, let's back up to the beginning, and let's have you talk about how your passion for the blues started. How did this all start out?
Well, actually, my parents were huge jazz and blues fans, and so obviously I gravitated towards the blues. As a child, I used to say I was being dragged to the Newport Folk Festival. My father was from Pawtucket, Rhode Island, so they used to go out to the Newport Folk Festival, and Jazz Festival, and I wanted to go run around and play on the beach and didn't want to listen to the music. But, people like, Muddy and Waters and the Wolf and other people were playing at that festival along with all the jazz people. But I kind of got hooked on the blues, and growing up, just blues. I just kind of caught me. I mean, I go back to the Beatles and the Stones. The Beatles were a phenomenal group. But to me, I was a Stones fan. Don't get me wrong, and nothing wrong with the Beatles, but I was a Stones fan, and I kind of like that gritty music and the blues, and kind of followed that, and that's kind of how it started.
I think that's why we got along so good, because I feel the same way. Respect the Beatles, but like that harder edge of the Stones at that time. So, how old were you when that was going on?
Well, I was, I figure I was 7, 8, 9 years old, 10 years old, 11 years old, in that group when my parents used to go to the Newport Festival, and then they kind of my father was always playing, the old high five for those people who understand what that is, the record player of today's age. But when he always had a huge jazz collection and a blues collection. And I'm fortunate I have that in my music room. I got my father's music collection after he passed. So, I just kind of, like I say, just listening to different styles of music. The blues was just that music that you just wanted to know more about. I mean, it just it had that niche in it that that's cool music, and how do I learn and get more involved in that? So that's kind of how it began. And then my first bringing blues into Maine, it was back in 1978. I was a bouncer at a club called Golden Spike, which was a biker bar, held about 300 people. And we got a call on a Saturday morning from a booking agent saying the band that we had scheduled to play had to cancel, and they had, it was a rock club, and they just said, we don't have anybody around, and they just said, we got this band that just had their gig in Boston canceled. That's sitting in Boston doing nothing. That was Eddie Shaw and the Wolfgang.
Oh.
And I said to the two owners, I said, let's bring them in. I said, having a blues band, it's better than no band. And we brought this blues band into Rockland, Maine, and that kind of started it. When they came walking in the club, basically, a biker bar in the whitest state in the nation.
Right.
If 5 black people walked in the club, there was some racial slurs that was put around, and I put an end to that real quick, and physically threw out one guy that used that the N-word, and I just apologized to the band, and they played that Saturday night. And the crowd just loved them so much that they actually stayed and played again for us on Sunday.
Right on.
And so that was my first promotional part of it, of bringing blues into Rockland. And then through Eddie, Eddie would give me a call every time he'd show up in the Boston area at the TAM where he used to play, and I'd go down there and see them. And he said, "I got a few days off," and he said, "Anything you think you can find me a place to play in Maine?" Of course, the Golden Spike was only a 2-year run, and it closed up. But so I found hotel rooms, booked 2 rooms, and put Eddie in one room, and had the audience sit in the other room. The doors opened, and I just started finding places for him to play. And then through Eddie, he invited me out to Chicago, to the Chicago Blues Fest, and started introducing me to a lot of other blues players in the Chicago area, people that were playing the festival. And kind of that's how it started.
Wow.
These bands would be playing that same route, coming from Chicago into New York into Boston, and they'd say, "Eddie Shaw told us to call you. I think you could get us an extra gig up in Maine." And that's how it started. I was at that point, I was running a club at the Tradewinds downstairs in the lounge, and they started calling me, and I started bringing blues bands in there on a regular basis when they were coming up. And from there, that's where the first festival started in 1990 in the Tradewinds parking lot. It was called the Tradewinds Blues Bash. I had brought in 2 national acts, one of them being Eddie Shaw, the other one being William Clark. And I brought in 4 regional bands that played in the parking lot. And then, that's we did that for 90, 91, 92, and 93. And then we changed the name. I got a couple of partners, and we changed the name to North Atlantic Blues Festival and moved it across the street to where it is now. And, one of those partners, we let go. But it's coming year, it'll be 33 years of that festival.
Ah, that's awesome. So about how old were you when you first started, with the promotions?
So basically, I'm going to say 20. Obviously, I went in the Marine Corps at 18. I would say about 21, 22,
Wow.
An area. So.
Wow, pretty early start there so the North Atlantic Blues Festival, is that your biggest festival?
Yes, yeah. It'll be 33 years old this year, and that was my baby. Started with that one, and kind of learned, made every mistake known to man. That's why I consult for festivals now. But but I only made those mistakes once, and so yeah, that was the first festival of that nature, and then. Through Eddie, I decided, he never had any music, so I started a label and recorded Eddie Shaw, a few albums to Eddie Shaw, and then down the road, a couple other people. So, but Eddie was kind of my mentor, and kind of got me, into the business more. I mean, it started out as a hobby. I was a police officer in Rockland, Maine back then when I was bouncing at the Spike in '78. So,
oh, wow.
And so I was doing the blues stuff on the side. And then when I opened up at the Tradewinds, I started doing a regular Monday night blues jam. And then we did, other music and stuff during the weekend, and had rock and roll bands and karaoke when that came around and all that stuff. And so I always had a flair, for the blues. And then with all these people calling me and contacting me, and then when through Eddie, all the people that I got to meet in the Chicago area that became now long time friends with, just started bringing them up there and looking for places for these people to be able to continue to show their music and play their music. So that's kind of the beginning of where it started. So
wow, that's the cool history. So so you started up in Maine, was mostly local before you got into working with Eddie, mostly the locals.
Yeah, local bands from around the state, and then there were rock bands that were regularly playing, up and down Maine, throughout the state, and I'd bring them in on weekends, and that's when we decided, after we had Eddie, when I had the contact with Eddie, we decided to start a Monday night blues jam and had a house band, with 3 people, doing the house band, and then we'd invite other musicians to come in, and so we started doing the jam. And then, and that's how it kind of gravitated to say, well, we're doing a jam once a week now, is bringing in some of these national touring bands that were in the Boston area on a Friday or Saturday, would come up to Maine on a Sunday and, play for play for me on a Monday. So we started doing regular Monday night blues with national touring bands for a number of years at the Trade Winds. After the Trade Winds had decided to, go in a different direction and close down, I moved across the street to the Time Out Pub, and I was in that room for 25 years,
Oh, wow.
bringing in national. I was blues every week. So for a long time, every Monday night we were bringing in blues, and then, like I said, the festival started with North Atlantic, and then I kind of started spreading out and doing other festivals. So it's been a fun ride.
Yeah, it sounds like a great ride and a fun ride. So North Atlantic Blues Festival, first how it started. So, and how did it break off from, or how did it branch out from there? Tell us about the other festivals.
Yeah, from North Atlantic, went from there, and then I ended up starting the Gloucester, Massachusetts Festival. The person that was at the Chamber of Commerce in Rockland, Maine, had left Rockland, Maine, and went to Gloucester, Massachusetts, and he called me, and he said, "I think we can do in Gloucester what you're doing in Rockland." So he invited me out to Gloucester to look at a spot to do a festival out there. So we decided to do it with Bob Hastings as a partner with me, and he had just retired from their chamber and was gonna wanted something else to do. So we decided to do a festival, and we did the festival there. After a couple of years, he decided to move to Florida, and so I kind of bought him out and continued to do the Gloucester Blues Fest, for the next 12, 13 years, and that's still as of today is still that's going on. And then I went down to Bradenton. The Bradenton Festival called me. Jack Sullivan of the at that point had Blues Music Magazine, was in the Bradenton area in the Village of the Arts down there. And,
yeah.
And so John Ed Eisen from the Realize Bradenton wanted to do a festival, and so he gave her my name and then invited me to come down. So I flew down to Florida, and they got a $6.5 million grant to do their Riverwalk over. And so I walked the Riverwalk where they were going to do it. And I said, if you're going to do a festival and you want it close to town, this is a spot to do it. So they hired me to do that. So we did the Bradenton Festival, for 12 years. And while I was doing the Bradenton Festival, the sound company that I hired, Mojo Productions, Greg, was part of the where you were just at, up at the
Greg,
Lakewood,
Lakewood Sand Ranch.
Up, at the, �々Youth Ranch, what it was called then. Now it's Florida Sands. Florida Sands.
So
he invited me up there to look at a spot. He said, "I got a spot we think you could do a festival up here," and so he brought me up there. And when first time I went there, like you wondered where you were going until you got there, and then you realize what a beautiful spot. So we did a festival up there, the first Camping with the Blues, and it went over, fairly well. We didn't make no money, but did lose a lot of money. And he said, "What do you think?" I said, we got to give this a second chance, because it was just the first one, to get the word out. So the second year, we basically doubled, our and that festival's been going on now for over 10 years. And then we had tried to get the festival. If you're from the Florida, you remember Sarasota used to have a really good festival.
Yeah.
And so when that went away, we decided to try and do we called it the Suncoast Blues Festival, because the Suncoast Blues Society is in that area. And so Greg and I tried to get the Sarasota Blues Festival going again. So we did that there for a few years, and we just weren't getting a lot of cooperation from the town and where we were doing it. And we're really working hard to basically break even. And I just said, why are we working so hard to do this? I said, why don't we go back up to �々Youth Ranch, because that's what it was called then, and continue and change it. Use the same weekend, which was in March, and we decided to do the Blues Bash at the ranch.
Oh, cool.
And And so we did, we did the Blues Bash at the ranch the first year, and it was, it brought all the people that we had from the October that saw Camping with the Blues. We got them all in immediately. So that was a successful festival on that. So I said, why don't we just do 2 here and forget the other one? And we did that. So there's them 2 festivals, take place, one in October, one in March. And both now it's at the Florida Sands Music Ranch. It took over the Sertoma Youth Ranch. So, so we, and that's what we just talked a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
about doing this
I want to
podcast.
say something about that festival, because let me tell you, just from just driving up to the gate of the ranch and driving down that road with the open field and the sun setting, it was pretty incredible. I mean, I as far as the environment goes, that's a real vibe there. Just
it's an amazing spot.
The whole atmosphere with the campers, the vendors, the peaceful setting, and the covered stage. The audience is covered. Just a great vibe. Everybody's so friendly, and everybody's there for the same reason. They're there to feel the music. They're there to feel the blues. That was an incredible weekend at the ranch there.
Yeah, so so it's been fun watching those grow and keeping them alive, and so that's kind of, I'm a blues fan first, and and if I can get people to have a good time for a few days, or even if it's a one-day festival, to forget their worries at home and just go out and enjoy the music for a day.
That's it.
And see a big smile on their face and seeing the band smile. That's what I'm here for.
Amen.
And
that's what it's all about, right?
And that and that's what it is, and and that's my goal, is to keep this stuff going. And then the last festival we hadn't talked about is the one I go out to Denmark and do in the first week. It used to be in November, but we moved it this year till in our first weekend of October. So I go out. It's not my festival, but they hired me to go out there and run the whole festival.
Nice. And what's that one called?
Blues Heaven.
Blues Heaven. All right. International. So, and I'll bet you that going down to Florida for the Lakewood Ranch Festival and some of the other festivals at the Florida Sands Ranch, when the weather starts to get cold up in Maine, I guess it's not a bad gig to start doing some stuff down in Florida, right?
No, I mean, I enjoy going down to Florida because my wife and I have been going down to Florida for years. We happen to own a timeshare in Treasure Island. We've been going down there for over 30 years.
Nice.
And so, every now and then we'd get this, we'd go down to, we'd go into Sarasota, Bradenton areas, and go to, remember when Aces was going and the Red Rooster, the Blue Rooster, and we used to go to those places. Now we go down to Cottonmouth, and we get over to Inglewood's on Dearborn, and other shows in the Florida area that's out there. So I get a chance to go and sit down and watch and relax and enjoy a show. And it's not my show. I don't have to work it. I don't have to worry about when the next band is or how the sound is. I just kind of sit there and enjoy the shows.
Yeah, you can just absorb it, right? It probably feels.
And it's a good.
Probably feels good.
Yeah, it definitely feels good. You could just sit there and I go buy a ticket and sit in the audience and just enjoy the music. And that's kind of rewarding. And like you say, we're down. I'll be down there for the Lakewood Ranch Festival in December 6th, and then I'll be down there for 10 weeks after that.
Nice.
We're gonna stay there till mid-February, so I'll catch a lot of shows in that area, and just enjoy it. And but I'm working always in festival mode, working on bookings, and of course I have Monday Night Blues still in Rockland, Maine. We just had Memphis Lightning that just played for me last night.
Dynamic performer, right?
Yeah. They're originally from Maine, so they came back. They played for me last night. We had a packed house. So
awesome.
I still do Monday Night Blues from the first Monday of March until the last Monday of November. So I've been doing Monday Night Blues in Maine now for 35, 40 years.
and no time is wasted, because I saw that right after, after the Lakewood, after the Camping with the Blues Fest ended, the media started with the Lakewood Ranch Festival. So let's talk about that one, because that one's coming up. I'll be seeing you out there for the Lakewood Ranch Festival. You've got quite a lineup. scheduled for Lakewood Ranch, and that's going on December 6th, Saturday, December 6th in Lakewood Ranch. That's outside of Bradenton and Sarasota, right?
Yeah, part of the Lakewood Ranch actually sits in Bradenton, and part of it sits in Sarasota. So when Bradenton decided to, after 12 years, to go in a different direction, they had some budget cuts and staff. They cut the staff from 6 to 2.5 people, and they decided to go in a different direction. And I just said, well, this festival is well established. I'm going to try to keep it. So I decided to keep it going, and that's how Lakewood Ranch decided, that's how that festival came into fruition, because like I said, I just wasn't going to let a successful festival go for 12 years. And the people of Bradenton area got used to having a festival in their backyard. And so we found a new spot. Morgan Betts, who happened to used to work for Realize Bradenton, she was doing some stuff at Lakewood Ranch, and I called her and I said, I'm going to keep this festival going. Do you know of any other spots? Because I had looked around the Bradenton area and even tried to keep it going in the same spot that it was in, and just couldn't work out things with the city to make it work. So she said, "Why don't you come up to Lakewood Ranch?" And she introduced me to some people up there, and we walked and looked at the spot where it's at. And I said, "This is a beautiful spot. Let's do it here." So
it really is, right? It's almost like a little village setting. And you've got everything kind of right there.
Yeah, everything's there. If the people that went to the Bradenton Festival, you had to kind of leave the festival grounds theoretically, where you couldn't see the music to go to the vendors, even the restrooms and that. And where we're at now, everything is there. I mean, even there's real bathrooms, plus we use some portable ones, but all the vendors can actually see the music and hear the music, and so you never have to leave the grounds. It's one walkway coming in, so it saves us a whole lot of fencing, and like we had to do at Bradenton. So it was a perfect spot. Last year was the first one, and it went over fairly well. And so we figured, a lot of people that that went to the Bradenton Festival were skeptical, and when they said they weren't sure how it was going to work in Lakewood Ranch, but the people who did come to it were just raved about it. Said this is so much better location wise than it was at Bradenton, and so this will be our second year, and like you say, the lineup, we put a diverse lineup together, and a lot of people ask me how I put my lineups together, and I try to accommodate most blues fans. If you're guitar fans, I have guitar players. If you're a female vocalist, I have female vocalists. If you like soul blues, I bring in some soul guys or girls. And if you like piano, I've got some piano players. So I try to bring in so many different styles, because a lot of people don't realize different styles there are of blues. I mean, a lot of people growing up, they heard of Stevie Ray Vaughan and they heard of B.B. King. And if that's what they know in the blues, they've missed so much.
Yeah, it's such a wide, diverse range. And the Lakewood Ranch Festival is a one-day event, but you pretty much cover the whole gamut. It's a one-day event. It looks like, and starting the lineup at 10 a.m. is one of my favorites. Talk about soulful, and the 𝐿 Band.
Yeah, they're definitely an up-and-coming band. I've been watching them for a few years when they were backing up Kat Riggins, and they still do when she's in the Florida area. And I was actually Kat that says, you need to go out and check out the 𝐿 Band on their own, because they deserve to be out there on their own. And so I did, and I booked them. They just played for me at the club here in Rockland a while ago. They played North Atlantic Blues Festival for me last year, and so and they were Kat Riggins played the first Lakewood Ranch Festival, but I figured they need their shot, so they're going to be on the stage, and they're going to open up at 10:15 to 11:15. But before that, what I've been doing in Rockland, Maine, with North Atlantic, we have a blues camp the week before the North Atlantic, and so we're going to do the same thing with Music Compound. They're putting together a blues camp, so we're going to let them kids open the festival at 9:30 to 9:55. We're going to give the kids 25 minutes on the big stage, opening up as people coming into the grounds. There'll be the young kids up there on the stage playing. So it's our first year bringing them in. I like to try to keep that youth involved. And for like 12 years now, we've had the Mid-Coast Music Academy, which is the one here that I actually sit on their board. But we've been bringing those kids on the stage, and I have one of the artists that's playing the festival on Saturday come in on Friday and spend Friday at the camp with the kids.
Nice.
And I go up and speak with the kids on Wednesday before I get too busy setting up on, for the festival. I spend a couple hours with the kids explaining what's going to happen when they walk in the grounds, how they're going to be getting on the main stage, and explain what's going to take place. And it's been very rewarding to see how these kids grow into that music part of it. So,
what a great foundation that they get laid out for them.
Yeah, so we're going to do the same thing with Music Compound. They're going to let the kids open up, and then, like say, 𝐿𝐴 Band, which is a dynamite soul, blues, a little bit of rock in there, and a great band with a horn section now. And and then after 𝐿𝐴, we got the Piano Player of the Year at the Blues Music Awards. Eden Brent's coming on, at 11:35 in the morning to 12:35.
She's a powerhouse too, huh?
Very big powerhouse Mississippi girl. They call her Boogaloo, and she's a great player, and like I said, she just won last year's Blues Music Award as Piano Player of the Year. So, and then what's surprising is we have the next act going on at 12:55 to 1:55 is Albert Castiglia, and he's going on early in the day by his request, his agency's request. When we originally booked him, it was all set, but he had a chance to have another gig. A very lucrative gig after the festival, so he asked if he could be moved up so he can get out of there and catch a plane to fly off to another gig. So Albert's going to be on, early in the day. Someone like Albert you'd probably see later in the day or almost closing the show. But so if you're an Albert Castiglia fan, you love your blues rock guitar, and Albert's got a great background. I met Albert.
Oh, he's awesome.
Played for me. Albert played for me when he played with Junior Wells.
Oh, wow. Great.
So that's how long I've known Albert. And so, and then you get to, the next guy, who's won numerous blues music awards for Soul Blues Artist of the Year, Johnny Rawls. I mean, he's one of the living legends in the blues world. Another one out of Mississippi, and just a phenomenal entertainer. And he'll probably
we saw that at Camping with the Blues.
Yeah. And he'll probably have that band because he uses a Florida band when he comes into Florida. Johnny's one of those guys that travels. When he comes up to Maine, he's got a band he uses in Maine. If he goes to the West Coast, he's got a West Coast band. He travels by himself and gets to the gig, but he's got a band in place already. So I've known Johnny for 40 years. I mean, I actually produced a CD, a DVD that he was recorded in Rockland, Maine. Called Rocking in Rockland.
Oh, right.
And, so I did a DVD CD for Johnny that I produced. So I've known Johnny for a long time, and Johnny puts on a great show. And then for those people who like the Chicago blues,
Toronto,
Toronto. I mean, and he was he was at Cottonmouth a few months ago.
I saw that.
So. And it puts on a great show, and just you want some Chicago blues. He's a great storyteller with his songs, and just mixes that great Chicago mix in there. And then you got Anika Chambers and Paul Delirier. Anika's she's won the Soul Blues Female Artist of the Year award, and Paul's just an incredible, phenomenal guitar player, and they work off of each other
the
well.
synergy with fantastic synergy. Yep.
I mean, he's a Canadian, and she's from from the Texas area, and so you're going to kind of get a mix of them, and they're just a dynamite team. And Anika's been playing for me as well as Paul individually. When Paul had his own band before they teamed up to get together, and combine their bands together when they got married. So they just phenomenal act, and then we're going to finish up, with. Kind of a super group, DeSoto Tiger, which is Jason Ritchie, Damon Fowler, and Jonathan Boogie Long. All three of them have their own bands, and but they've been touring. They played for North Atlantic for me this past July. Put on a phenomenal show. And
is this the first time they're touring together?
No, they've been touring
DeSoto
now
Tiger?
as DeSoto Tiger. No, they've been playing. Some selected dates. They've been playing. Like I said, they played for me in July, and they did a few dates in the July August area. Then they went on and did their own thing, and now they're doing another show as 𝘱𝙁, doing a little tour, and and they are going in the studio to record an album with 𝘱𝙁. So down the road, you'll see them teaming up and touring together, a little bit. So if you like some wild guitar and that, you got Jonathan Boogie Long, and and Damon. Damon's been nominated for Blues Music Awards. He's a phenomenal vocalist and guitar player. And if you like harmonica, Jason Ritchie's one of the best harmonica players in the world in any music, any form of music. And I've known Jason.
He's played our little room down here in New Jersey, the Lizzie Rose Music Room, and he just puts on what a fantastic show. Yeah.
Yeah. I've known Jason since he's probably been about 9 or 10 years old, because he's originally from Maine, and he used to show up at some of the jams I used to put on, and and I've watched his career grow, and I knew his mom and dad, so I've known Jason for a lot of years, and and to see Jason through his highs and his lows, and very proud and happy to see where he's at now. His life is good. He's doing great, and he's it's just like I say, you don't get a better harmonica player than Jason.
Yeah, he's just fantastic.
What's amazing about him is I think when he hits the stage, he has no idea what he's going to. He might know the list of the songs, but where he takes that song, you could see him 3 nights in a row, and he could do the same set 3 nights in a row, but it would be 3 different shows, because he just takes that harmonica and that band, he just takes them on a ride with them, and that band is so tight they can go with them. But people are going to be blown away. And of course, like what I do after all my festivals is that, that after they're done, there'll be a little jam session with, you'll probably see some 𝘱𝙁back, and, I can see Anika and Paul coming up. I can see Toronzo, Johnny Rawls, Eden come back up, maybe depending on who's backstage. I always put a jam together for the audience that sticks around all day, because they might see something they're never going to see anywhere else with all these people on the stage together. So that's kind of my favorite part of the festival when I'm, even though it's been a long day and work, but the bands always say, all right, I said, I'm going to do a jam song at the end. He said, as long as you put it together, Paul, we'll work with you. So I bring the people on the stage that that are back there and have no idea who's going to be on that till like late in the day, because I got to find out who's sticking around.
Who's still hanging out. Yep.
Yeah, and so we always have fun doing that.
Yeah, that was incredible. It was an incredible jam at the end of the Camping with the Blues with Johnny Rawls. I think Regina Bonelli.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. So
yeah, awesome. So that is a full lineup. That is a full day of the blues. I'm going to encourage people that are going to get there for the first act, because 𝐏𝐿𝐴N's going to start things off with a bang, and she's going to just get things off to a really great roll.
She's going to set the tone.
Yeah, she's going to definitely set the tone. Eric Guess on guitar, Tim Mulberry on the drums. Yeah, awesome. Looking forward to that. So that's Lakewood Ranch Blues Festival, Saturday, December 6th, and they're going to get started at 9:30 with the students, and then after that, 𝐏𝐿𝐴N will lead off. Hope to see everybody there. Paul, I want to thank you for coming on and giving us a little history about your background and the festivals. And we'll see you in Florida.
Sounds good to me. Like I say, if anybody wants more information about Lakewood, just go to Lakewood Ranch Blues Festival. Everything's on the website. They can get tickets and read about every one of the artists we just talked about.
Absolutely. And I'll also put a link onto the liner notes for this interview.
That sounds good to me.
Awesome. All right, Paul, thanks again.
I appreciate you calling out.
You told me you loved me, you told me a lie. I won't forget you, woman, till the day I die. Get on down, down to the real nitty-gritty.